Okay, so get ready because we are diving into some seriously mysterious stuff today. Bigfoot.
Yeah, this is gonna be fun.
Our listeners sent in a ton of stuff on this, so clearly they're ready to dig in and like separate fact from fiction, right?
Absolutely. And there's a lot to unpack.
Yeah, we're going to wade through all the evidence, the stories, the whole nine yards, maybe even bust a few myths along the way. Who knows?
And you know what I think is really interesting about Bigfoot? It's not just an American thing. You find stories of these creatures pretty much everywhere you go.
Oh, totally. I mean, we've got Bigfoot here, but then there's like, what, the Yeti in the Himalayas?
Right, and the Yowie in Australia, the Orang Pendek in Indonesia.
It's like, why are humans so fascinated by this idea of like a hidden ape person?
It's a question for the ages. But it's like a primal instinct almost. A lot of these stories, they were passed down for generations, and they often had a purpose. Like, take Native American traditions, for example.
Why? That point.
The Semiquas of the Lumi people or the Nantinak of the Alutiiq. These aren't just like scary monster stories, right? They teach about respecting nature, understanding the power of the wild, not overstepping boundaries.
It's like those cautionary tales parents tell their kids to keep them in line, right?
Exactly. Don't wander too far or the Stiaha will get you. You see that across cultures.
So these stories become like ingrained in their culture. They kind of shape how we see the world around us. But it's interesting how they kind of evolve over time. Like the Bigfoot legend as we know it today really took shape in the 20th century.
Yeah, you're right about that.
1924. That was a big year for Bigfoot, wasn't it?
It was a pivotal year.
Two major events that really kind of put him on the map, so to speak. First, you've got the Ape Canyon incident, which sounds like something straight out of like a cheesy horror movie.
Well, it does sound kind of made up when you say it like that, but it was a big deal at the time. A group of prospectors claimed they were attacked by ape men right there at their cabin in Washington state.
And they said these creatures were throwing rocks at them.
They said that.
I don't know, man. You got to wonder if this was just like a publicity stunt. Prospectors, they weren't exactly known for being shy and retiring, were they?
Well, you might have a point. See, the U.S. Forest Service, they investigated, and they couldn't find any solid proof to back up these claims.
Really? So maybe they were just trying to drum up some business, get their names out there?
It's possible, but whether it was real or not, that story, it stuck. It really fueled that public fascination with the unknown.
Oh, absolutely. And then that same year, we get the name Sasquatch, thanks to J.W. Burns.
Right. J.W. Burns, he was a journalist, a historian, collecting stories from the Sales people of British Columbia. Their name for the creature, Sasquatch, it means hairy man.
Catchy, right?
It caught on, that's for sure. Became synonymous with our American version.
Okay, but what about the name Bigfoot itself? That didn't come around until a few decades later.
That's right. That all started in 1958. Bulldozer operator Jerry Crew finds these massive footprints at a logging site in California.
And how big were these footprints, really?
We're talking huge, 16 inches long. The media, well, they went bonkers.
16 inches. And just like that, Bigfoot was born.
Basically. It's funny how a good name, a catchy name, can really make a story take off.
It's all about marketing, right?
Yeah.
But here's where things get a little wild, a little fishy even.
Oh, how so?
Years later, it comes out that those iconic Bigfoot footprints, the ones that started it all, totally fake.
Yeah, that was a bit of a bombshell, wasn't it?
A hoax, perpetrated by a man named Ray Wallace, a coworker of Jerry Crew's, no less. Carved these massive wooden feet, used them to make the tracks.
Can you believe that? The very thing that cemented Bigfoot in our minds?
I know. It's like, are you kidding me? Talk about an elaborate prank.
It just shows you how easy it is to be tricked, especially when you're dealing with something as mysterious and, well, impossible to find as Bigfoot.
It makes you wonder if we can believe anything we see, right? But even with this whole fake footprint thing, the story doesn't end there.
Oh, not even close, remember. This was just one set of footprints. The legend goes way beyond a single piece of, shall we say, questionable evidence.
Okay, then let's dive into some more of this evidence. You mentioned other footprint. Tell me everything.
Huh?
All right, so we've got one big hoax that basically launched, well, probably hundreds of Bigfoot hunts. But footprints, that's just the tip of the iceberg, right? What other kinds of evidence are out there?
Oh, you are right about that. We've got a whole lot more than just some questionable footprints to talk about. We've got plaster casts of prints, tons of them, supposedly from Bigfoot, found all over the place. Some, honestly, pretty rough.
Yeah, like you can't go 5 minutes online without seeing some blurry footprint picture.
Exactly. And a lot of them are clearly just bear tracks or, someone having some fun.
Fakes, you're saying?
Could be some creative folks out there.
So what about the ones that aren't so easy to explain away, though? You mentioned the skookum cast before. What makes that one so different?
The skookum cast, well, it's pretty detailed. Supposedly, it shows the creature's foot kind of relaxed,
Relaxed how?
toes spread out a bit. Like if you imagine, and I know this is gonna sound weird, but like if you were just kind of chilling, foot resting on the ground.
Okay, I'm with you.
It even seems to show maybe these dermal ridges, like our fingerprints.
Whoa. So like individual Bigfoot prints.
Potentially, yeah. Now, it's super tough to say. Yep, definitely Bigfoot from footprints alone. But the skookum one, it's complex, way harder to fake convincingly, so who knows?
Okay, but even a really good fake footprint, it's still just a footprint, you know? What about something more tangible? Like what about hair samples? You find hair at a crime scene. That's DNA evidence, right?
You'd think so, wouldn't you? There have been a ton of cases. People finding hair, thinking it's Bigfoot. Everyone gets excited, hoping for that scientific breakthrough.
Right. Bigfoot DNA, case closed.
Exactly. And one of the biggest studies, I think it was back in 2014, analyzed over 30 hair samples, all thought to be Bigfoot.
Don't leave me hanging. What did they find?
Well, let's just say it wasn't exactly a win for the believers. Almost every single sample matched up with a known animal.
Like what kind of animals? Give me the rundown.
We're talking bears, dogs. One even matched a cow.
A cow. Seriously.
Yep, a cow. And that one sample, the only one that didn't match anything. Humans.
So much for that.
Okay.
Okay, so we've got iffy footprints, misidentified animal hair.
Yeah.
What about all those eyewitness accounts? There's that super famous Patterson-Gimlin film.
Yes, the Patterson-Gimlin film. Probably the most argued about piece of Bigfoot evidence in history. 1967, this footage comes out, grainy, shaky, you can barely tell what you're looking at, but it seems to show this large, hairy figure walking on two legs.
I've seen it. Definitely gets the heart rate up a little bit. It's like, what if this is it? What if they really did capture Bigfoot on film?
Right. That's the question that's kept people hooked for decades. But just like everything else with Bigfoot, this film has been analyzed and picked apart. And the skeptics, they say it could be a person in a suit.
A suit.
Really, that's what they say. The quality's so bad, it's impossible to say for sure. Plus, no real scientific context or anything.
So basically, it's a dead end. We still don't know.
It's not necessarily a dead end, but it shows how important good science is in all of this. Without that, without good evidence, we've got more questions than answers.
Okay, now that's interesting. So if it's not Bigfoot people are seeing, what is it?
Well, sometimes the simplest answer is the right one. Misidentification is a big factor in these sightings. Bears, especially black bears, when they stand up on their hind legs, people mistake them for Bigfoot all the time.
So that shadowy figure in the woods might just be a hungry bear looking for a snack.
Could be, yeah. And then there's the power of our own minds. Our brains are wired to see patterns, even where there aren't any. It's called pareidolia. And that shadow in the woods, suddenly it's a monster, fueled by our imaginations.
So we're basically hardwired to see Bigfoot, even if he's not really there.
In a way, yes. And don't even get me started on all the hoaxes out there.
Oh yeah, the hoaxes. Weren't there folks trying to pass off a frozen Bigfoot body a few years back?
Yep, Rick Matt, they called it. Turned out to be a rubber suit filled with animal guts.
Oh man, that's messed up.
Definitely a letdown for anyone hoping for a scientific breakthrough. It just makes it harder to separate real curiosity from someone trying to pull a fast one.
It's like trying to find a needle in a haystack of blurry photos and crazy stories. But with all the hoaxes, the misidentifications, it just makes you wonder, why are we still so obsessed with Bigfoot? What is it about this, I don't know, this myth, this legend that keeps us coming back? You know it's true. You'd think with all the questionable stuff out there, the hoaxes, the blurry pictures, people would have moved on by now. But Bigfoot's like, this thing just won't die. What is that?
Yeah, it really makes you think, doesn't it? I think it goes deeper than just wanting to find some missing link. Bigfoot, it's like he represents something bigger, something more, well, mysterious. The unknown, that wildness we still have in the world, you know?
It's like when you're out hiking, deep in the woods, right? Surrounded by those massive trees, the sounds, the smells. You can't help but feel small, like there's so much we don't know.
Exactly. And in this world where everything's documented, mapped, analyzed, Bigfoot represents that connection to something bigger, something outside of all that.
It's like he embodies all those unexplored places on the planet, the possibility of finding something truly, well, unbelievable.
Right. It's exciting.
Yeah.
And we can't forget the impact these stories have on our culture. I mean, Bigfoot's become a part of our mythology, right? He's in our books, our movies, our art.
He's like a modern-day folk hero. That symbol of I don't know, a wild spirit that I think a lot of people feel is missing from their lives.
It's a romantic notion, isn't it?
It really is. It makes you wonder, though, like, what if we did find proof? Real, solid evidence that Bigfoot exists? Would it ruin the mystery? Or would it make us even more fascinated by the natural world, knowing there's still so much out there to discover?
Now, wouldn't that be something? Would he just become another animal in a textbook, or would he still hold that sense of wonder, that mystique? It's hard to say.
It really is.
But, maybe the biggest takeaway here isn't whether he's real or not, but what this whole search tells us about ourselves.
Our desire to believe, right? That fascination with the unknown, with what's hidden just beyond our reach.
Absolutely. Bigfoot, maybe he's just flesh and blood, maybe he's a figment of our imagination, but either way, he makes us question what we know, acknowledge those mysteries that still surround us, and honestly, I think it's pretty amazing.
Well said. So to our listener who sent us all this great stuff on Bigfoot, we hope this deep dive has given you a lot to think about. Remember, this isn't just about footprints and blurry photos. It's about our connection to nature, our desire to believe in something extraordinary, and the power of the unknown. And hey, you never know, maybe the next time you're out in the woods, you'll have your own Bigfoot encounter. Thanks for listening.